back to my channel. Today I decided to try a tag. I'm going to be doing the birth story tag. The mama who started this, her name's Sarah. Her channel is Sarah aka Mommy. I'll leave her link down below, as well as the playlist of all these moms who are coming together to collaborate on this and talk about their birth stories. They're all going to be uploading their videos there. So definitely check them out if you want to hear about some other people's birth stories. A lot of the moms who have had more than one child will be comparing and contrasting to each birth. I've only had one, so I'm only going to talk about one. A big reason I wanted to do this birth story tag is because I didn't start YouTube until just recently, and I missed out on those memories, like being able to talk about Charlotte's birth story and all the things that happened during that time. This is a good way for me to kind of get that story into a video so that I've got it locked and loaded for myself, and then for anybody who's interested or has questions about birth or whatever, I can at least talk about my experience and what happened with me. So let's get started. The first question is, how many births? I've only had one, so I don't have much compared to, but I at least can talk about that one. Second question is if it was vaginal or C-section. I had Charlotte vaginally after being induced. So I know it's kind of a controversial topic, and some people believe that inductions lead to C-sections, but my induction did not, thankfully. The third question is if you went all natural or if you got an epidural. I definitely got an epidural. I am somebody who has like this much pain tolerance, so I knew ahead of time that I was definitely going to get an epidural. I went longer than I thought. I thought for sure right before they got an epidural they were going to check me, and I was in so much pain. I was crying through every contraction. I knew they were going to check me before they gave me an epidural to see how far along I was, and they checked me, and I thought for sure, okay, it's going to be like 2 centimeters and I'm going to be like a wuss. And I was actually 5 centimeters, so that's awesome. But I did end up getting an epidural. I was very afraid. I don't like needles and stuff, so I was not ready for it. I told the anesthesiologist, whatever you need to do, I'm gonna close my eyes, get all set up. Like, I don't want to look at anything. It'll freak me out. My anesthesiologist was top notch. I didn't feel anything. It was a really weird, crazy feeling, but I'm glad I got the epidural. It made everything so much easier and moved so much faster after I got it. The fourth question is if I had a home birth or if I was at a hospital. I did have Charlotte at a hospital. The Kaiser nearest me is newly renovated and nice and updated, and it was beautiful. Great experience that I had there. Number 5 was if there was any complications. So through my pregnancy, I had the issue that Dart and I actually went on our honeymoon within 8 weeks of conceiving Charlotte. And that was a time when Zika was really, I don't want to say popular, but really prevalent in certain areas like Jamaica, which is where we went. So I had to get multiple ultrasounds and extra blood draws because of the Zika thing. I wouldn't necessarily call it a complication because everything turned out fine, but it did cause some hiccups in my pregnancy, as well as Charlotte wasn't growing to what they thought. They told me a couple weeks before my ultrasound that she was a little bit small and that there was no real reason to keep her inside any longer than her due date. So that's why I got induced right around my due date. And then the only other thing that was not necessarily a complication, but something that we had dealt with through our pregnancy is that they told us that Charlotte's bones, like her long bones in her arm and her legs, were measuring differently. I think they were measuring like a little bit shorter is what they said, and that is a marker for Down syndrome. So it's something that we had to deal with through our pregnancy. But as far as labor and delivery, there was no complications. I was very, very pleased with how everything went and how everybody treated me, as well as the process, and very happy that nothing went wrong there. Number 6 is the funniest part about labor and delivery, or funniest part during labor and delivery. I don't really have any funny parts. The only thing that I can think of as a funny story is it was probably about 12 or 1 o'clock, and I was going to get my epidural at 2, and I got a sandwich. And I got a turkey sandwich on sourdough with cheddar cheese, which is like my favorite, and ate probably about half of the sandwich, maybe even a little bit less. And was like, okay, I have to save this. But after I have Charlotte, I want this sandwich and my snacks that I had there. I couldn't eat through my contractions anymore. So I got the epidural, and you can't eat after you get the epidural. So I got the epidural, everything went on. As soon as I had her, I had that first uninterrupted hour and was able to spend that time with her. And then I was like, I need a sandwich. Where's my sandwich? Somebody had come and cleaned our room during the matter of all this time. No one noticed, or at least no one paid much mind to it. And I definitely didn't notice. They had taken my sandwich and my whole tray of snacks. I was so hungry and wanted that sandwich so bad. It was awful. But my nurse was amazing. She went and got me a sandwich out of the nurse's lounge, which wasn't the sandwich that I wanted, but it was the best sandwich I probably had in my entire life because I really wanted a sandwich and I wanted it bad. So I guess that's kind of a funny story. The next question is, how many people were at your birth? So I had people coming in and out, like my dad came, my mom came, Dart was obviously there the whole time. His mom and his sisters came. I had different people coming in to visit, but as far as actually in the room when I gave birth, Dart was up at my shoulder, my mom was holding one leg, and my mother-in-law, Dart's mom, was holding the other leg, and it went really smoothly. I was actually really happy. Everybody was there to be able to experience that. It was nice to have all the support that I did have in there, and I wouldn't change it. Number 8 is if the baby was full term or early. So technically she was full term because I think 38 weeks is full term, but she was born at 39 weeks and 4 days. So she wasn't all the way up to 40 weeks, but she was full term. Number 9 was duration of labor. So I had Charlotte at 9:56 p.m. on August 31st, and I went into the hospital on the 30th at 3 p.m. Right? Yeah, I went in on the 30th at 3 p.m. So total duration of my labor was about 31 hours from the time I checked in to the time that she came out. I wasn't really in active labor for all of that because I obviously got checked in at 3, and then I had to get all my paperwork done, get an IV in, then get started on everything. But my water broke at 4 a.m. on the 31st. So I would consider that the start of my actual labor. Active labor was probably about 18-ish hours from when my water broke to when I had her. Number 10 is asking about the recovery time. So recovery for me actually wasn't that bad. I'm not exactly sure what they mean all the way by recovery time, but as far as in the hospital, I only tore a little tear, had 2 stitches. So I was actually going to be let go within 24 hours, but I guess this could be a funny part as well. But during the time that Charlotte was born was the time that in California, where I live, in California, it was like 105 at the coast in San Francisco at the ocean. It was so hot, and we don't have air conditioning at home because we rarely ever have that bad of heat. So they asked me if I wanted to go home, and I told them no, I'd rather stay another night because I'd rather stay in this air-conditioned hospital than have to go home to no air conditioning. And we actually didn't come home our first night. We went to a good family friend's house who has air conditioning and stayed there our first night because I was so afraid that she would overheat or something like that. So recovery time in the hospital took those 2 days. And then from there, I was cleared at 4 weeks. So I'm assuming at 4 weeks, if not a little bit before, I was relatively all the way healed. As far as like feeling recovered, it was probably about 2.5, 3 weeks when I started to like be able to like go to the bathroom and not have pain, or you know, get up and down and move all around and not have any aches or pains or anything. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed all of my answers to my questions. I'm definitely glad I was able to share this so that I can look back on it and think about Charlotte's birth, and then even to compare it later to the other kids that we do have in the future. So if you want to check out some other moms and what their compare and contrasts are with their birth stories, or just hear some other birth stories, definitely check out the playlist that I will have linked down below. And thanks Sarah, aka Mommy, for setting up this birth tag. Bye guys!